All right, buddy. So, game details for kindergarten through second. So, their game is a Halloween game. We already talked about, Halloween's over, but this game's still awesome, so we're going to play it. It's called Ghost Town. So, the idea is it's kind of similar to the same concept, but it's just structured in a different way to like the Captain America game. So, you'll split the kids up the same way, kind of help them get into their teams. Kindergarten, what I have typically done is like wherever their dot spot is in relation to the gym setup, that's what team they're on. That's a little better for them to understand, I found. So instead of doing the rock paper scissors thing, I'll just have them split evenly down the middle, whatever side their dot spot is on, and just tell them like, hey, wherever side your dot spot's on, that's your team. That's the only square you can move around in, so you can't cross that middle line. It takes time with those little guys, obviously, but like they'll get it eventually. If the student is on the midline, if that's where their dot spot is, I'll just like try to do it evenly and just tell them like, hey, you're going that way, you're going that way. But the idea is two teams of Ghostbusters, and they have played this on Monday already with the other sub. They're trying to be the most dominant ghostbusting crew in town, and they're trying to attack all the other ghostbusting teams' ghosts. So the game setup might take a few minutes, but like I said, they have practiced it. But all the dodgeballs in the middle, just like before. And then each team gets 10 of those Home Depot buckets. And those Home Depot buckets go on top of dot spots. That's like where you put the gravestones. And then there's a ghost, a pin, on top of each gravestone. So that's kind of the setup. I put a little map on there to kind of show you what it looks like. As they play this now, I'll kind of tell them, like, hey, is it a better idea to have your gravestone closer to the midline or farther away from the midline? And then just kind of having a discussion about distance and like how when targets are farther away, it's a little harder to hit them. Some kids got confused about the idea that if a bucket is on their dot spot, that means it's theirs. That's not true. So you can defend and block any gravestone to try to not let your own ghost fall down. But then you're trying to grab dodgeballs and throw them across the midline to try to hit the other ghosts down. Okay. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing is making sure they don't cross the midline. That'll take some training and some practice and patience for sure, especially with the kindergarten. But I did play it with two other kindergarten groups, and they did get it. It just took a little extra time and patience, obviously. So similar setup. As soon as the game's all built, I have them lay down on their end lines with their feet touching the ground, start the music, they play. The first level of the game, which they probably did on Monday, is just knocking them down. Okay, if a ghost gets knocked down off a gravestone, any player can just put it back up on top of the bucket. The game continues to go, play a few rounds. Layer 2 of the game is that if a ghost gets knocked down for any reason, as in a ball hits it, it wobbles and falls, or if ball hits it, knocks it down, any teammate now buries it and puts it under the bucket. And that ghost is gone. That ghost cannot get back. So the goal of the game for this time is to be the ghost-busting team that has the most ghosts still standing at the end of the round. Okay, so play for a few minutes. Once the game is over, signal them to stop, and then we'll go over like, well, who won? Like who has the most ghosts standing. Don't really care who won. It's just kind of cool to see. So just reinforce that idea of like friendly competition, and then reset, keep playing. Depending on how long these rounds take, this might go into like Wednesday and Thursday as well. But the next layer of the game starts involving catching. So a ghost gets knocked down, you bury it. But at that point, for level 3 of the game, if somebody throws it across the midline from the other team and you are able to catch it out of the air, which means it never hits the ground, that means that you and you alone, the person that caught it, gets to like unbury the ghost. You get to bring the ghost back up, put it on top of the bucket. That's a pretty fun level. That one gets really cool, reinforcing the idea of catching instead of just blocking. So play that for a while. The next layer of the game, depending on how far you get with each group, there is one red pin for each team. And up to this point, that red pin has meant nothing. But now that red pin is the most valuable ghost. That's like the biggest, strongest, baddest ghost. So at the end of the round, each white pin still standing at the end of the game is worth 1 point. The red ghost is worth 3 points. Now, the thing about the red ghost is if the red ghost gets knocked down, it gets buried. A catch does not bring it back up. A catch does nothing for the red ghost. The way to bring the red ghost back is somebody on your team has to make a basketball shot onto their own team's hoop, not the opposing team's hoop, your own team's hoop. And that's how you get your red ghost back up. Now with second grade, I do have some stronger throws in there. If you want to change it up and say that to get the red ghost back up, you have to throw it and hit it into the opposite team's hoop, that's fine. Okay. And then the only other layer I had on that game was some kids gave me the idea that if you catch it with one hand, if you're like you catch it with one hand and the other hand doesn't do anything when you catch it, then you get to bring up 2 white ghosts. That would be another modification. But this game should last you the week when you start adding in warm up and all the other stuff. So super fun game. Feel free to add and adapt in any way you want, and hope it goes well. Thanks a lot for subbing for me, man.